Welcome to Below the Surface, the podcast where we go beyond the small talk and dive deep into the conversations that matter.
From personal growth to the complexities of human behaviour, we explore the stories, ideas and experiences that shape our world without the fluff.
Expect raw, thought-provoking discussions with fascinating guests and plenty of insights to challenge the way that you think.
So if you're ready to look below the surface, you're in the right place.
Let's get into it. Who is Barry Loftus?
Very well done. Who am I? Okay, I would come across as probably being very extroverted, but I'm actually very introverted. I love my own space. I'm a very competitive individual, and I'm always looking to try and improve myself somehow or some way. That's who I am.
Excellent. And what do you work at, or what's your background?
I'm a fitness instructor by trade. I'm a strength and conditioning coach, soon to be a sports psychologist, a yoga instructor, and everything in between that in the fitness industry.
Brilliant, brilliant. So can you take us back, I suppose, to a time in your life where you feel it's an important part of your story and who you are today?
I suppose a reference in Baby Dara there and my book, Baby Dara and Sahara. How is it important? I think that experience has really created who I am now, but at the same time, that's like another person, if that makes sense. Even though I wrote a book about the experience, it seems like such a long time ago. And even though I was in my mid-30s at that stage, it seems like a person that is not me now.
So are you, for the people that are listening that might not know anything about Baby Dara, are you comfortable telling us about that story, what happened and what?
Sure.
Yeah.
So myself and my wife went in for our 20-week scan on our third baby, and we were directed into a room that many would know in Casper Hospital, which would hold all the scanning equipment for checking on babies at that level of growth. And having been there several times before, I was kind of bored, nearly wanting just to see what had to be seen and hit the road home because I was busy, was working. And the lady that was scanning couldn't find all the things that you're supposed to find. I don't know, any of you have kids or in that situation. Okay, so what they'll do is they'll start waving their wands across your partner's tummy, and they'll find, they go, there's an arm, or there's a kidney, or there's a tummy, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And with Dara, nothing was shown whatsoever. And you kind of start falling into this whole time starting to slow down, and the feeling of something I think is happening here, but it shouldn't be happening to us. As the person, the sonographer, I think you call them, is looking for this baby, looking for parts of this baby. And you can see her then becoming stressed and looking for help herself. So it just becomes this thing that is enveloping or happening in real time. And I think Alma started to cry because she understood something was wrong. And somebody else was then called in at that point.
Like that. I understand what you mean when you say it's something that feels like it shouldn't be happening to us. It's kind of, would you say surreal, nearly like this is something you see in a movie. This isn't something that happens in real life.
Yeah. Definitely surreal, but definitely it's like a car crash. You're in it, you're in it, things are happening and you're going to have to start dealing with it as they're happening. But it's a very slow car crash, and things just start falling apart, but really slowly, and information becomes scant. And
were they giving you, like when this was happening and you knew there was something wrong, like you knew like this woman was looking for help and she's the professional, had you got any information, or were they telling you anything, or were they just leaving you in the?
So when I say she was looking for help, she looked for somebody to come in. So she didn't say, I'm looking for help here. She was very professional, and they are very professional in there in Castlebar Hospital. They were brilliant. But this is going on every day of the week. So, this is happening so often that this is just, I guess, a process that they're going through at the same time. And a senior sonographer came in and had a look, and I can't remember exactly the time frame. It's 7 years ago now, but essentially Alma was booked in then. She was told she was going to have to stay in the hospital. She was going to have to be brought in, and she was brought upstairs. So you're going from, well, we need to be back down to get the other two kids and get ready for dinner or whatever, to, well, that's stopped now. Alma's been admitted into hospital now, and the life that you were living up to that point just came to a stop.
It's amazing too, the way life can just change in the blink of an eye. Like,
Yeah.
So talk us through. So what happened then? They couldn't find what they needed to find. So what happened then?
Well, so I guess obviously I'm not a medical professional and I don't know, and I'm basing all of my views on what I saw, and also I don't know how far medical science has moved on in the last 7 years also, but I'm guessing that they are using their experience and their knowledge in academia to, and that images or lack of images tells them whether something is happening or not, and whether Alma needs to be admitted for a particular reason. At that time, we didn't know. We just knew that something was wrong, and she was to be brought upstairs and admitted into the maternity ward at 20 or 22 weeks. I can never remember which.
So then she was admitted, and where did things go from there?
She was admitted. She was brought up into another room, and then another midwife came and said, "You've had a bit of a shock," and a consultant came and examined Alma, and then Alma was admitted. And I had to go off and get the other kids sorted. And
I remember reading that in the book.
Yeah,
you went back to your house and you slept in one of the kids' beds. Was it?
Before that, I kind of went into the hall and I cornered the senior sonographer, and I asked her what was going on. Like, I cornered her. I asked what was going on, and she said that she thought this baby had Edwards syndrome.
Yeah.
And up to that point, I'd never heard or knew what it was. And I had to go and get stuff for Alma, like chargers and bits and pieces like that, and call my own mum and dad, sort out our kids. Alma's brother came to help out too, and just the helter-skelter of changing. Like, I had classes on that evening, like you have here, and they had to be cancelled, and it was Facebook at the time, and there was a big cancellation notice on Facebook, and I left Alma. I think we were allowed. There's a room that you go to in Castlebar Hospital. I think anyone that's been in that room knows that it's kind of at the top of the hall, up beside the nurses' station, and I know now that that's where these kind of cases are brought, and we were kind of up there for a while, and you're allowed to tell you to cuddle, like. So you jump in beside your wife, and you're literally in the bed beside her, and you're watching TV, and that's what they want. They want the closeness and the love, like that's what the nurses want.
But at this point, you still didn't know what was going on?
No.
Okay.
No, but we were there in that room, and we were watching a documentary about Kerry, and famous Kerry footballer from Waterville, like, and his name escapes me. And then I had to leave and go home then to our home. With our two other kids were gone at this stage. They were taken by grandparents to mind, you know.
So you were on your own, and that.
Yeah.
What was going through your head?
Well, I did what you shouldn't do. I went straight on to Google. I started Googling Edwards syndrome and all this sort of stuff. And
it's never a good idea.
No, it's never a good idea. But it's like some of the cases of Edwards syndrome are really not good. And I Google imaged it. I went the whole 9 yards in it, like, and I did this all on my own. You know, like, I didn't look for help. I didn't do anything. I just went straight into this kind of a mode. And shouldn't have done that, because that had kind of affected my thinking over the next coming days. And it wasn't that I wasn't supportive, like I was, but my uncle is a funeral director, so I was like contacting him to see what the process is, because I was told that this pregnancy is not viable, it's not going to work. So
and emotions were all over the place too, like, so it's hard to kind of
probably
think straight, like.
Well, I was thinking straight though, because I was going straight into, all right, we got a funeral here, and
You were going into the
I was
logic
going
mode.
into and like
You have to hold things together.
pretty much, yeah. And my uncle was telling me like the process and what happens, and like, okay, this. And I talked to another woman whose daughter had something similar, and she talked me through what happens next. So I had all this information on this sort of stuff, and I went up to like Alma the next day, not telling her any of this, because she wanted a second opinion, and there would have been like, the rounds that come around in the hospital, like the consultants and all the junior doctors, they were all coming around then the next day, and like I'd be trying to listen to them to see what they were talking about, like the junior doctors, because they were all learning from their experience with my wife and our baby. And Alma basically demanded a second opinion, and we were sent to Dublin then to Hollis Street. It's not Hollis Street, it's the one on the south side.
Rotunda, Crumlin.
No, it's up by Stephen's Green. And so she was
Hollis
sent
Street, is it?
Hollis Street. I can't even remember.
I was reading that in the book as well.
Yeah.
You couldn't go in the ambulance. You had to drive up separately. Wasn't that correct?
The insurance reasons, they won't let you in the ambulance, so I had to drive up behind her. And you were sent up to another hospital, but they had better equipment. And
it's not a great spin at the best of times up to Dublin, is it?
No.
It's probably 10 times worse when you're going up.
Yeah,
thinking about that.
And was this like an urgent, lights on, sirens on, like absolutely ripping it up the road, or was it just?
No, there's
we're
none of
going
that.
to
But
Dublin?
prior to this, I think, I can't remember, was it beforehand or afterwards, we were in, and one of the consultants in Castlebar Hospital basically asked us, do we want to keep the baby or not? And we were like, yeah, we want to keep the baby. And like these junior doctors started taking out plastic implements and stuff. It would be like someone putting away sweets in a shop, like that sounded plastic, of all the bits and pieces that they would need to deliver the baby. And it was all very kind of kinesthetic, the sounds. I can still hear the sounds of all the plastic bits and pieces they were taking out. And like this little unit they had in the wall that they would pull down to put the baby on and whatnot. And so all this is kind of going on, and it's all very, very dramatic. So there was no blue lights up to Dublin. But I was going up to Dublin thinking, right, like in my head, right, the best thing for this baby, because we hadn't named the baby at that stage, was that the best thing you can do now is basically just pass on and just, stop. Because like obviously Alma's going through whatever she was going through. And the best thing for Alma is I thought a quick resolution to this. And like that's a very simple thing to say. It's a very man thing to say. But you're kind of trying to keep it all together and keep my wife together, but at the same time have no understanding of what it would be like for her to deal with such a loss for the rest of her life. But like it seemed like the most logical thing to do was like, based on the information that I had, that a quick kind of like a painless for both mother and child ending was the best thing for her. But then we went up to the other hospital, and there was these consultants, and they were like the Premier League level,
Right.
like you're very young, but like scanned Alma again, and they're basically saying no, like everything's fine, everything's there. I remember that Dara's heart was about the size of a grape at the time, and like the valves weren't closed on her heart. They showed like the image of it. Your man described it like how the tissue was growing over the valves and how it would create the heart and all this sort of stuff. And it was just like, yeah, she'd be fine. The worst case scenario here is this baby's going to be born in Dublin. And would that be a problem? Like this sort of light-hearted stuff. Like at that stage, I was all over the shop. Didn't know what to do or what to think, because I'd gone from this baby needs to pass on here to, well, we'll try and get it to 28 weeks gestation. And if we get it to 28 weeks, we'll take it a day at a time after that then. Because the each week, if it's 21, 22.1, 22.2, whatever, to 23, 24. There's kind of different things that can happen with the baby with each sort of week or day of growth. So each day is important for the child's development in the womb. And with each week that passes, their susceptibility to diseases and whatnot decrease. So they're trying to get it to a certain gestation. And they said like 27, 28 weeks was the aim. And that was that. It was like, right.
So you were saying that at first you were thinking, okay, for this baby to pass on because it would be better for Alma, essentially. So
Yeah.
what had they said that could happen to Alma if, like, at that point, what were you told?
I was just told what I'd asked, and that was that this baby had Edwards syndrome. After that, then there is the risk of infection. And there's the Civita Halappanavar case is not a long time ago. And that was where there was a similar issue to, I'm not sure if it's a similar medical issue to what Alma had, but there was a similar issue. And like people are going to have to look up that case themselves and what happened with that case and all that. So this was all ongoing too, and is ongoing. And I'm not sure if this has been kind of dealt with properly within the state, I mean, and the services, or is this just something that's kind of an Irish way of doing things?
So can you tell us what is Edwards syndrome? Because I know there'll be people listening. I can hear a few people in my head already saying, what is Edwards syndrome? They'll be listening and be like, tell us what Edwards syndrome is.
It's a chromosomal disorder, and unlike the other syndromes, in Edwards syndrome, for the most part, these babies don't live for very long. Although there are some cases of some of them have lived up into their mid-20s. They generally pass on within a couple of days if they even go to full term, and they suffer from I don't want to use certain words, but like they don't have certain things, and some of the babies can be born in certain ways that can be quite hard on both mother and father and baby. So it's not very common, but it does happen. I can't remember the exact figures, but it is quite a traumatic birthing process for both for parents, essentially, of Edwards syndrome or similar.
Okay, so you had all this information, and now you're gone to Dublin, and they're telling you that
everything's okay.
Everything's fine.
Yeah, everything's fine, and well, not fine. There's still risks, but it was a completely different change in information. And I just remember being in this canteen, and Alma's a very relaxed woman. She's very horizontal, and like I always want to go, like wherever. Can we go? Can I go? You know what I mean? And she's like, "Can we wait for food? This is for everything, right?" And like she wants to go for food in the canteen, and I was like, I just have to get out of here. I couldn't cope. Like the place was closing in on me, and I just wanted to get down the road. And essentially, it was just completely different information. And I think she was brought back to Castlebar, but then was brought back up to Dublin, and she went then to the Coombe, and she was admitted into the Coombe, and she remained in the Coombe then for a couple of months. So this is August. And she left the Coombe in early December.
Okay. So why was she put into the Coombe? What was the deal there?
Well, the Castlebar Hospital wouldn't be able to deliver a baby as the information was then of a certain gestation. So some babies would go to Galway for a certain gestation, and then some go to Dublin, of the maternity hospitals in Dublin. And that was the one we just happened to end up in. And that was just it. That's where she was from 22 weeks until Dara was born at 32 weeks.
Okay, so 10 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, when she was in the Coombe, where was your head at?
Just in, I was running my business, and I had 2 other babies, and just keeping everything going, being supportive for Alma. But like, do you ever hear that saying, like the village raises a child?
Yes, yeah.
Like, It does. And like the whole kind of community just dug in, and neighbours and childminders and family and whatnot. My mom, and that's what just kept the show on the road. Like I still had to run my business, and my customers even were like, I can't imagine what I was like, probably on edge all the time. They kept coming, they kept paying. You know, I can't imagine I was a great fitness instructor at the time, but everyone just kind of dug in, and that's what it was like.
So then 32 weeks, Dara came along. How was that?
It was wild because there was a couple of false alarms. There's a term for it, I can't remember. So I was actually, we would go up to Dublin every weekend to see Alma, sometimes with the kids, sometimes not. And there was we were up in Dublin staying in a hotel once, and there was a false alarm. So that meant getting people in to mind the kids when I went over to Alma, which was a false alarm. And then there was another, what we thought was a false alarm. And but baby Dara did actually come. She was delivered, I think it was at like at 10:30 on a Thursday night or something like that. I'm probably getting that wrong, but get shot for it. But it was like that time. I remember I was just getting ready for bed, and I was like, rang Mum come up and mind the kids, and I had to bomb up the road. I think actually she was heading for delivery, and I was in the Swinford bypass, and one of the consultants rang, said, listen, baby's born, everything's fine, take your time. And that was it. Dara was born, and I made my way up to the hospital, met Alma. She was as high as a kite. She was like, it was just calm down. She was just nuts. And but we couldn't go to see the baby. Like she wasn't out of the woods at that point. Like, so it was really strange. I was back into, all right, well, baby's here now. Like, you know, how many days are we here and we get back to life normality again? But that just wasn't the case either. Right. So it was wild. That was
some roller coaster. That like of a.
Yeah.
And what age were your other kids at the time?
Danny was 3 going on 4, and Nisha was about 2-ish.
And how, like, did you notice, were they confused? Obviously they were confused, didn't know what was going on, but was there any change in their behaviour with all the coming and going? And
oh yeah, they were hugely affected. Their mum was gone for 3 months.
Yeah, so how was that for them? Like, and then I suppose you being the primary parent at this time.
I can't, there's an awful lot I can't remember. It's just a blur.
Yeah.
But like I'm sure they were affected. But they got on with it, they had no choice. And we would call up and down to Dublin to see their mum. But like, it was horrendous because you were kind of waving bye to her in you know, the canals up there by South Dublin, all those red brick buildings, you know, and like you're waving bye to Alma, their mother, and it was nice, but they get on with it.
Didn't know at that age, like
they just didn't know what was going on.
Yeah. Okay, so Dara came along. Alma was on edge, and you were kind of like, well, what happens now? So take us on from there.
So there's like this room at the end of this maternity hospital, and they've got these they're like cocoons of these specialist beds, and these babies are all in them. So all these preterm babies are all in there, and it's just like something from a science fiction movie. It's like, it's really white, and it's just really strange because you can see your baby there, but you can't hold your baby. And
so what weight was Dara?
Oh, 3 pounds or less than 3 pounds. I could hold her. When I got to hold her, she was here, my sternum. Just hold her there.
And how long was it until you got to see her?
Oh, it was a couple of days. I think it was a week. Yeah.
You had to wait a
hold
full
her.
week.
Yeah,
Oh,
to hold her a week. Yeah,
but you could visually see her.
You could see her. You could stick your hand into the bed thing, and you could kind of touch her hands, whatever. But
you couldn't hold her.
You couldn't. No, you couldn't. She was all hooked up on. I'd say that night when we first arrived, and I was like, when can I see my baby? They were like, in a couple of hours, whatever. I'd say, like, that period that she was on her own there, like, that was obviously like a make or break time for her. You know, these are things you don't know or you're not told, but like, why weren't we allowed down there straight away, or why can't we be there straight away? We were hours in this other kind of like a holding room, waiting to go down to see her, and but she was scrapping away there, and she was quite jaundiced, and but there was another bed there, and I remember there was a consultant getting ready to do some sort of surgery on a child. Like, this place is just insane. And you remember in the book I wrote about the Portuguese nurse, Mo Salah. He looked like Mo Salah. This guy. This guy was like bouncing around all these beds singing. You know that song, "Don't Blame It on the Moonlight."
Oh yeah.
Blame it on the boogie.
Yeah. And he was like singing, and he
around all these premature
babies, and it was just wild. But that's how he dealt with it, and he was just amazing. I never really met him.
Well, he probably needed to like help bring you up, like, as well.
Well, I don't know. I think this was his thing.
Oh, right.
And and there was lots of that. It was just lots of that. It was a very surreal place in the world that there's people there now in all the maternity hospitals.
Do you reckon that put people at ease? Him being like that, like parents wise and stuff,
or more on edge?
Well, for me, I'm always questioning. I'm like, why is he doing that? Like, you're kind of watching him bouncing around the place. You know,
it'd be worse if he was crying. Like.
You'd probably be worse. Well, you couldn't be that type of person because there was a lot of babies there that just didn't make it.
Yeah.
You know, so and in the wards afterwards, where Alma was sent to be. There's lots of parents there that their babies didn't make it. Like, so there's constant coming and going.
Was there still a chance that Dara wouldn't make it at this stage?
I don't know.
Okay.
Is the short answer. I don't know. Maybe in that period from when she was delivered to when we got to see her, I don't know what happens there. Maybe Alma knows, but I think there's a lot of stuff we don't want to know.
Yes.
Or they don't tell us or whatever. And you're being told by the consultants and whoever things are great and whatnot. Like, but I think it's managing emotions and managing parents, and it's all a very strained environment. With a lot of loss and a lot of love, and it's just somewhere that, like, unless you're there, it's very hard to explain the experiences that people go through.
Go on, Kieran, you were going to say
something. So what stage did you get to bring her home then?
I'd say she was about I'd say we got to come home to around Christmas time. I don't know how many weeks she was in Dublin at that stage. We transferred down to Castlebar. You spent a couple of weeks in Castlebar, and then I think it was like Christmas week. You're literally putting this teeny tiny thing in these maxi cozy. You know, you see people walking out of the hospitals, it's basically the weight of the maxi cozy was it, because there was very little baby weight there.
So you got out Christmas. And did you ever question Castlebar with the diagnosis? Like, why they told you that?
No, and I'm glad you asked, because we all live here in Mayo and we understand the sort of how Castlebar Hospital has been treated since we were born, and the lack of resources and the stress that the staff and medical professionals are put under, and how hard they work and how hard they're being worked. And I think it's just a result of possibly overwork. And that for me is what happened. I think there's just so much going on, and there's so much continuing to go on, and it doesn't seem to be any sort of result in how the overall health service works. I think there's just a lot of problems, and
that's a lot of stress to put on two human beings, especially a woman that's carrying a baby. Like,
it is. So she never got the news about the Edwards syndrome. Okay, I received that news, but I understand your sentiments.
Yeah.
And yes, you are correct, but unfortunately, because the health system is the way it is. Now, I will say that, like, of the health system, the maternity system, and I can remember each midwife in Castlebar Hospital. I can remember the hugs from the midwives in Castlebar Hospital.
Great people, yeah.
Like, the rocks that they were to me. And without them, I think that, like, as a community here in the Northwest, I think we would suffer a lot worse. I think they're the ones that are holding the whole bloody thing together.
Oh, yeah.
But I think in my instance, and the experience that I had was a result of the overwork, underpaid, not enough holidays, situation where they are in and we find ourselves in as a community and as a society here right now.
Would you say it's got any better, like, since?
We haven't had any more babies since.
Yeah. But it's always something that baffles me. Like, my brother is now a pediatrician, but they they have to work like 24-hour shifts and they might not get a break. And it's just mad to think that you are asking people to give all of themselves to helping other people who are sick, but these people aren't allowed to eat, they're not allowed to fuel themselves, they're not allowed to sleep. It's like, how can they possibly, you know, be at their best level if they're not given this time? Like the health system, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, they are pretty much overworked. I think that's well documented now at this stage, of the issues that they find themselves in, and it doesn't seem to be any sort of a plan here for it, but it seems to be worldwide, I think. But funnily enough, we have had experience in other hospitals in other countries, and it's not bad everywhere. So I think it's something that can be tackled at the higher levels in this country, and there can finally be something done about it. But on the ground level, I think that they are doing their absolute best.
Oh, absolutely. They're doing the best that they can, but it's the top that's causing the problems.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah. So was the bottom line of the story there with Dara that Edward syndrome was non-existent?
Yeah, it was completely non-existent.
And that she didn't need to be premature? Or
No, she, Alma had a condition that caused Dara to be born at a premature stage. I don't know how common her condition is, what she went through, but I do know that there's other ladies that have lost their babies with the same condition. But certainly no, Dara did not have Edward syndrome or any other syndrome. She's a perfectly healthy, now nearly 7-year-old baby girl.
That's just wild,
isn't it? That's crazy. Yeah.
So how have you been? How are you, like, with all of that?
I think I've parked it.
Have you?
Yeah, I think I've parked it. I think the book was kind of cathartic, because I got it all out there as we recommended people is to write stuff down and to journal. I think in a way it was kind of journaling, and like I wrote it down. That's it. It's done. I've no ill will. I've explained already what I think. So I am fine. Yeah, I'm fine.
And was this part of the reason why you done Marathon des Sables, or was that always something you wanted to do?
No, it wasn't something I always wanted to do. I forgot to mention Hugh's house actually. When we were in Dublin, Alma couldn't stay in the hospital when Dara was admitted, and she stayed in a house called Hugh's house, and that's where parents of babies born prematurely or parents of sick children, stay in Dublin, and Alma stayed there. And it was around that time there was people I was staying with in Dublin. There was one guy there suggested that we do this race called the Marathon des Sables. I hadn't much interest in it. I was doing Ironmans at the time, but with the kids and with life, logistically Ironmans were getting too hard to do, and I needed a new challenge. And it was just that somebody mentioned this. There was like 4 or 5 guys, 3 of them put their deposits down, and I put a deposit down at the time. And that was that. Yeah, I was the only one. I was the 4 guys that signed up. Ended up doing it at the time, but that's where the Marathon des Sables came from. And we used it as a springboard to raise money for Hugh's house at the time, back in 2020. But the COVID obviously came in between signing up and doing the actual race.
It's a crazy event. Just for the listeners, will you just explain what's involved in Marathon des Sables? They're just
so it's changed now. It's been bought over since. We did it in 2023, and it was known as the hot year. It's 250 kilometers over 6 days in the Sahara Desert. You camp, you carry all your own whatever you have on you, that's what you have for the week, and you essentially run through the desert. Be that dunes, or there's a lot of climbing, mountains, which they call jebels.
With all this stuff on your back?
With all whatever you need for the week on your back, bar water. They give you water, and they give you salt tablets. You get a bag of salt tablets. Well, you did back then. I think they've changed that since.
And roughly how heavy was your bag?
My bag was 8 kilos, and I had a front pouch, which was 1.5 kilos of food.
Jesus.
And what degrees of heat?
There was reports that it went up to 55, but I think it was only confirmed 52.
That year?
That particular year. I don't know if you remember in 23, April, May, there was a heat wave in the south of Spain and the north of Africa. So we were in the desert during a heat wave, so it was pretty hot.
So what was that experience like?
It was horrendous, but it was really good horrendous, if that makes sense.
So talk us through a bit more about that.
It was definitely the hardest thing I've ever done. every day was incredibly hard. Points of the day were incredibly hard. But it was one of those things where if you had to climb, say, Crowpatrick, and you were coming up over a berm and you'd see a rock, you'd say, right, I need to get to that rock. And you get to that rock and you go, right, there's another rock over there, I need to get to that rock. And that's what the days were like. They were like breaking things down to that rock or that dune or whatever to get over whatever it was.
So how long would like a stint be of coming across the desert?
Stages range from about 6 hours, and the long day was 24 hours.
Oh God. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So this was a complete mental battle.
Yeah, it was mental and physical. Because the heat too, the body breaks down.
Yes.
So there's a lot of problems with vomiting, diarrhea, the works, everything you don't want. I couldn't eat for a day or two. No, it's horrendous. It is horrendous, but it's the best horrendous thing you'll ever do in your whole life. It's class.
Did
Why?
you learn stuff about yourself?
Learned
Or
a lot.
What did you learn about yourself in through it?
Learned a lot. What did I learn? There's the usual stuff of like not giving up and getting through things. But the coolest thing I experienced was on the long stage, I went for a nap and somebody in my head told me to wake up and get up and get going again. It was pretty cool. And that happened 2 or 3 times that night. And this is in like you ever at a music festival?
Years ago.
Okay, so you know at the end of the night you get like these kind of like chill out areas like really late at night, and it's like do you ever go to Electric Picnic in the
I
forest?
was at Oxygen.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Back in the day, okay.
Oxygen.
So
Yeah,
even
remember
before,
that.
so Electric Picnic, there's like this place you go into the woods and it's all like really chilled out and there's people like whatever.
Right.
You go into these not biovacs, they're control points. This is like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning in the desert, and there's like light music playing as people are sleeping and having food, and it's really chill. And I went in there to sleep, and this fella kind of, do you know if somebody got on the bus beside you and they kind of rubbed your arm off you and you'd be like, that's like comfortable, and you kind of pull away. This fella like slept pretty much, he fell into me and he fell asleep on me.
Oh no.
And I was too tired to go like get off. So we both kind of fell asleep against each other. That's how tired we were. And after about 20 minutes, I think a voice just told me like, get up, get going again.
Wasn't your own voice?
No, it wasn't my own voice. It was something else. It was at the
Oh,
back
so
of
you
my
could
head.
go at your own pace. You didn't have to go as a group, no?
No, I didn't have to go as a group, no.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. So something woke you up.
Something woke me up, yeah. And that happened 2 or 3 times that night. I just basically bombed home the long stage, which was 90k in about 23 hours. And
Your inner David Goggins woke you up.
I don't think it was anything. It was more. People would think spiritual, but it was it was like a higher self.
Yeah.
It was cool.
I'm still trying to get my head around that, like the marathon, the SAB. Like I'd be probably still there, like decomposing in the sand. Like you said, it was horrendous. Like it's a good horrendous. Why
Yeah.
would you say it's a good horrendous?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like there's a great book about do hard things, it's one of those things that it's so hard that the level of growth that comes from it to get over it, and what you have to do to get over it. Like everyone is fit there, everyone is extremely fit, everyone is motivated, everyone is strong, and you get a lot of military types and former Royal Marines and whatnot, and then you get some guy from Roscommon that finishes it and like the Royal Marine doesn't finish it. Like what's that about? Do you know? And it's a whole kind of like inner strength versus what strength looks like. So I know you're big into your what things look like and food and body image and whatnot. Well, I think the marathon, the STAB really encapsulates that like what people look like, it does not mean they will finish the race. It's that internal fire. And you meet a lot of people out there that have a real internal fire, and that is what's class about the marathon, the SAB, and similar races and experiences, that you get these people that like should not finish these races.
So
but finish it.
was there something that was what was your driving force the whole time, would you say?
No, just me.
Just you?
Yeah.
You always had that bit of dog and you're like,
No, I wouldn't say I always had that bit of dog, but I think you can develop it.
yeah.
And I think you get a lot of people also doing these races that it's bucket list, and they might be very successful in life and in finance and whatnot. And, we are here in the west of Ireland. We're doing our thing. We like to live here, but it's not. We're not. We're not making huge amounts of money, whatever. So, it's kind of a lot of these things come together, and like you put everything you can afford into these races. You have to finish it. That's it.
You give yourself no option.
Yeah, there's no other option but finishing the race, and that's another side of it too. I think.
And did you build up the mental strength? Do you reckon? Is that where you built your mental strength, or had you built up mental strength before you went out there? You obviously need a bit of mental strength going out there, but is that where you really kind of?
I think everyone that does these events has a mental strength. I think training, when we train, we build our mental strength also. And my training was essentially early mornings, long runs, and just training. Like, you will build your mental strength training for whatever event, if it's a marathon or a 5K or whatever. If you're going in and putting in the work, that is building a mental strength, a mental fortitude, and it compounds and it adds up, and you do your training races or whatnot, and you just bring it out, and you get to use it then on the course.
So we'll say for people who maybe are struggling with their self or themselves, and they have a lot of self-doubt, low self-esteem, because I know you said you're doing sports, a master's in sports psychology. So for people who maybe have a bit of self-doubt, know that, or have this part of them that thinks, I could be doing more, I could be doing excelling, but then there's this other part that's telling them, no, you're not fucking fit for that. What would you say to those people who are kind of, they have that polarity and they know that, okay, well, I could be doing more and I'd like to, but there's also a part of them that's kind of holding them back? You mentioned there that you can develop this, like...
Well, it's negative self-talk, you just need to work on negative self-talk and reframing negative self-talk. What are you saying about yourself? Why are you saying that about yourself? Having honest conversations and asking for help if it is an issue, if it is something that there's a block there from whomever. Talk it out, flesh it out, and see if there's anything coming up and why is it coming up, and then reframe it and get tools to deal with it. Like, there's loads of tools now. There's loads of way of dealing with whatever blocks people have about themselves or what they can and cannot do. And I just don't accept that people can't do something, no matter what it is. I just don't accept it. It irritates me when people say, I can't. You can't. Like, it's so corny and cliche, but you can. But you just have to accept and work on it. And it comes down to work, I think, too. A bit of work rate with whatever it is that's bugging you or preventing you, and sticking with it and being consistent. And all the old stuff with consistency, that will get whomever to wherever they want to go.
So somebody who's struggling to be consistent with something, how would you recommend that they can work on improving that? Because, we hear people saying, like, you have to do the work and all of that, but what would you say the work is? I know that that's not going to be like a straight answer for everything, but somebody has this belief that they can't do something, or that it's hard, and they have this belief that they're going to fail. And you want to try and encourage them to keep trying and to keep going, and they have to be consistent. So what would that look like, or what would you say to that person?
Start with SMART goals. Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic and timed goals for whatever it is. Is it a 5K? Is it a marathon? Give it the correct time. Get help for whatever it is. Is it for food? Is it for food and training? And work on it. That's what I would do, pretty simply. Yeah,
good. Because the whole idea of this podcast is, like, for the people that are listening, because there will be people that'll be listening and be like, oh, I'd love to do that, but I can't do that, or I'm not capable of that. But like you said, if you set SMART goals, or if you break it down into small little chunks, and like you were on about in the Marathon des Sables, you're looking at one rock. It's just get to that one rock, and then you're looking at the next rock, and that they can try and build some momentum from there.
Yes.
So what's on the cards for you going forward? Like, what is your purpose? What is your mission?
Currently, I'm going to obviously finish off this Masters in Sports Psychology. We're graduating next week. I've got another race in the Arctic in February, which is similar to the desert that I want to do.
And is that just for personal development, just for your own fun?
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. It's a similar, it's a similar race to the desert, but it's just obviously it's in the Arctic, so it's -50 instead of +50, and it's a different challenge. I'm a bit older now, physical changes, so it's harder, and just that to me, I get massive FOMO when I see people getting ready for adventures. You know, if you see somebody that's going to row across the Atlantic, or even people getting ready for the Marathon des Sables year on year, I'm looking at them getting their gear ready, and I'm actually jealous about that. That's what makes me jealous. So to have something to aim for, a goal, and an adventure goal, like these events where you turn off your phone, there's no phone for the week, and you're out in the elements. These are the things that kind of excite me and drive me on.
Cool. Yeah, I like it. I like it.
It's
You're a hard
different.
man to read now.
Pretty much wrote a book, so it's an open book as
I
well.
know,
there,
I know. I'm trying to figure you out here. I'm like, what else has he got up his sleeve?
There's nothing. I have nothing. Nothing else. I do one thing each year, and that's we take a break and we go on a family holiday for a few weeks. And each year, I have time to think, and I like to take breaks. And I think they're very important. And when I have a break, I'll have some new idea. I'll run it by my wife. She'll throw her eyes to heaven, and that'll be what we do. But for now, obviously, we're busy with the masters, and we're getting our thesis together, and there may be something coming from the thesis also. In a new company or whatnot. So we just need to flesh out a few ideas and see what happens.
Excellent, love it. So for anyone who wanted to read all about Baby Dara and the Sahara, where can they
I
find
think
the book?
there's a couple of copies left in Castle Bookshops in Castlebar,
Lovely.
Easton's and Ballina, and then after that there's ebooks on Amazon, and that's it. I think they're nearly all gone now, so
Brilliant.
it's time for the next book.
Excellent.
There'll be a
Brilliant.
next book, there will.
Yeah.
Very good.
Are you allowed to share what it's going to be about?
It's obviously the next challenge. I like to write. I really enjoy the process, and I think to write a book, you have to write a book. And I learned an awful lot from writing Baby Dara and the Sahara, and I just want to write more. I really enjoy it. So,
Do you like journal regularly, or what would be your writing style?
my writing style would be to blog when I'm very passionate about something, and I think that's when I write best. I wrote the last blog I wrote is about the cross line win the All Ireland intermediate final there last January, and when we came home the next morning, I just had to write about the experience. And I think I figured out that when I write well, when I'm really passionate about what I'm writing, and the feedback tells me that. So I'm going to try and bring that kind of passion to the second book and see can I continue writing more.
Yeah, and do you do old school pen and paper, or do you write straight on the computer?
Microsoft Word, and it's pretty straightforward. And yeah, it's nothing. There's nothing really.
There's no bells and whistles.
No,
to it.
nothing Roald Dahl-ish about it. Like
yeah. But that's cool to be able to publish your own book.
Yeah, well, I had publishers in the last one, so
Okay.
I will have. I've learned an awful lot about editing, and this next book will have a lot more editing and editors and help with editors. I didn't know
Yes.
what I was doing in my first book, so I'm looking forward to getting better, essentially.
Yeah, brilliant. So where can people read your blogs?
I've WordPress. You can get it through strandfitness.ie.
Okay,
There's a link there for it.
perfect. We'll share that into the show notes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming here today and for sharing your story. And you've been through a lot, but the resilience and the strength that you show here today, it's a true testament to your character.
Thank you.
Yeah, fair play, man. It's serious mental strength there.
Thank
Fair
you.
play.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for watching or for listening. If you liked this episode, please do let us know in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, because it really helps us to get more excellent guests like Barry here onto the podcast. And we'll catch you in the next one.
Catch you in the next one.